If one thing is certain in World of Warcraft, it's that faction pride is dead. With changes like cross-faction guilds being introduced in the game, we're looking at World of Peacecraft. But look, we all know truly deep down that we all have a preferred faction. Whether it's the lore, the races, or the friends that we play with, everybody has a reason why their faction is better. So sit back, relax, and join me on the journey to discover why you hate the Alliance. First off, we gotta talk about the leadership. Originally, the Alliance had some pretty badass leadership in the form of Varian Rin. I mean, he did cool things like jump off a giant blimp and kill a gigantic infernal, and he had some pretty cool, rememberable lines like,
"We will end you."
but when he died, who was to replace him besides his little pussy son that the WoW community has been memeing on for years? I mean, just look at how much Nixium used to clown on him in every machinima.
I always thought that the power of peace and love would overcome the Legion when they came.
It was pretty great. And yeah, Alliance players, I know what you're thinking. In BFA, he did certainly have a glow up. And in fact, some people might say he's kinda hot. But then he proceeded to run away in Shadowlands like a little bitch. Yeah, great king work, buddy. But then the question was, who was supposed to take over the Alliance? Maybe we get another cool leader again. Maybe a vengeful king who wants to take back his kingdom. Maybe someone who's been chosen by Elune herself. Maybe even one of Kultiris' most powerful mages. No, it's the guy that repeated Konokai Crystal to me every day of 7.3. God, it was annoying. Please get this man out of office. I don't want to hear it again. So yeah, the Alliance leadership hasn't exactly been great since Legion. But you know what's worse? The races. Sure, I'll give them that the Worgen and the Void Elves are pretty decent. But there isn't really much else that's better. But the other options include playing as a basic bitch, Little Man Syndrome, Hasbulla, Tentacle Hentai, the inferior elf model, and then just some other variants of them as allied races. Actually, no, I'm not going to clump the Kultiran in with them because who the hell doesn't love playing as a hearty, drunk 40-year-old? I mean, there's really not that much to be said. I mean, I just don't understand why someone would want to play as like a gnome over an orc or an undead or a tauren. And I know that about 90% of all the Alliance players that are watching are Night Elf players that are frantically commenting right now because of my comments on their model. Well, allow me to negate that by telling you that so help me God, if you say anything, I will burn down that next tree. Seriously, I'd listen. Look up here, I'm playing a Destruction Warlock, I can do that now. And that great segue leads us on to capitals. Stormwind is, yeah, pretty thematic, you know, you'd expect that sort of thing from the humans. But then the rest aren't really better. You know, you've got Ironforge, which is so far out of the way that my Alliance ults haven't been there since 2015. Gnomeregan is just a low-level dungeon, so what good use is that as a capital? Teldrassil saw more flames than 2001. Gilneas looks cool as shit, but the Forsaken are currently occupying it, so suck my nuts. And the Exodar is so pointless because it's just on an island in the middle of nowhere right next to an already burnt down capital. Although I'd imagine it'd be great to watch the flames from there. So yeah, to conclude on the cities, I mean, you've got one functioning capital that is the main one that everybody uses. You've got one that's sort of useful in the middle of the continent that I guess you might take every 5 years or so. And then you've got another one which is completely out of the way and you will probably never go to. 10 out of 10, would capital again. Although there is one capital that's been left out of this list so far, and that's going to be the new Teldrassil. So Alliance players, if you promise to subscribe, I promise to do you a bit of a charity. I won't burn down your next world tree. And if this video gets enough likes, I'll make Why You Hate the Horde, because something tells me that after this video, us Horde players are going to need knocking down a peg. Now it's time to talk about war crimes. And I bet you're wondering, why war crimes? The Alliance doesn't do that. Well yeah, when Garrosh exists, it's pretty easy to overlook the war crimes of everyone else, but the Alliance does have a few. First you have the sinking of Gallywix's ship. Way back in Kata, the goblins were escaping Kazan because Deathwing decided he didn't like playing the game of ball you play with him, so he decided to cause a natural disaster. So after giving Gallywix your entire life savings and not reading the fine print of the contract that says you are now Gallywix's slave lol XD, they then run into an Alliance ship that's just sunk under the Horde ship. The Alliance spots them, and the captain says,
"No witnesses."
So of course the Goblin ship is destroyed. Now it's important to remember at this point of the story that the Goblins had no allegiance to the Alliance or the Horde. They were only in Booty Bay and in Ratchet. They were only there to make some money. They were basically innocent civilians just sailing around the ocean. Sounds like a war crime to me. Then we have the attempted assassination of Sylvanas way back in Legion. Now I'm not saying that Gen was wrong in any way for doing this, because he really wasn't, to be honest. I mean, Sylvanas was just being a naughty. And yeah, Gen's plan the whole time was probably just to smash the lamp and run away, but yeah, it was still a war crime. And if it's not a war crime, it's a regular crime at least. Like, come on, you can't just start attacking people, God. Just because they're trying to imprison a Valkyr. That's not even his justification either, it's more, you killed my son, come on man, that happened like 6 years prior, you gotta move on. Be like Frozen and let it go. And finally, we have a sort of war crime. Back in the War of Thorns, Malfurion decided to go all bear form on these suppliers for the Horde. And in one scene, I'm pretty convinced that he shot himself out of a cannon because he's coming in with some immense speed. Now, attacking them wasn't the war crime, no. What I'm proposing as a war crime is the way he killed that last orc. I mean, seriously, how is what he did to that orc not somehow a break of the Geneva Convention? I'm sure it would be in real life. I mean, just look at that. Come on, Malfurion, just because someone burned down your tree. It wasn't even him that burned it down. Sylvanas didn't get anything like this. In fact, she's still alive. That orc didn't deserve that. And Malfurion, if you're watching this, you know it. Now we got to talk about the Alliance ideology. The whole ideology of being an Alliance player is that you're doing everything in the name of the light, as the good boys in blue. Sure, there's some Alliance races and leaders that don't exactly abide by this whole goody two-shoes rule, but for the most part, they all do. Maybe they're doing it because in the wars they're trying to go for a religious victory or something, I don't know. Now, if you're anything like me, then the whole good boy act isn't really a thing. Maybe that's me just being the edgy metacore man in the room, but it really doesn't interest me. Why has everything got to be for the greater good? Why can't it be about victory and honor? You know, this is probably why the Alliance didn't get their own song. Elite Tauren Chieftain play Power of the Horde in the Dark Moon Fair, and it's awesome. And what does the Alliance have? Nothing. Well, maybe it has some fan-made stuff or something that's a bit cringe, but I don't know. You know, to think of it, maybe Blizzard also doesn't like the Alliance. Well, considering that WoD, The End of Mists, and BFA was a lot more, you know, Horde-centered, I'm gonna assume that they do. Sorry, Alliance players, but Blizzard doesn't love you.